Cause I saw you be going ham on social media, bro. Activating for the like taking activism for the people. I was like, this is what I want to see, bro.
I mean, you're talking about me. I mean, I think you're bringing a lot of. You're educating a lot of non-Boricuas and even Boricuas like me about the island. But first of all, before we jump into everything, Dean Huertas, the man, the myth, the fucking legend. Thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you? I'm sure a lot of people, plenty more people know who the fuck you are than me, right? Even people watching this show or listening to it. So why don't you introduce yourself and we'll get the show on the road.
Word. So name is Dean Huertas, originally from the Bronx, New York. Currently living in Santurce, Puerto Rico. I've been here for quite some time, and just like your average activist that took their activism to social media to inform the people about everything that goes on in Puerto Rico, whether it's politics, whether it's current events, culture, music, and make sure that our information about Puerto Rico is properly distributed.
It's crazy that all these during the pandemic, the shutdown. I started the video podcast. Loving the fucking shirt.
Now,
Um,
I got to show off, for our people for one time,
hey, if they don't free Puerto Rico, then we'll just move Puerto Rico to the moon, man.
Speaking of which, I remember you mentioned to bring the cold one, so I brought a cold one for the podcast today.
Nice,
This,
nice, nice.
this is a beer by Residente from Calle 13.
I actually, I'm one of my good friends, Marlena Fitzpatrick, was born and raised in Trujillo Alto. Where do they live? Right in that area, right in the thing. What's the
Yeah.
name of it? Conquistador.
Ah, that's funny.
So Conquistador, like that's where the name comes from. Like to go in, it's a gated community, right? So I guess his half brother didn't live in the neighborhood. He lived in the neighborhood, so going through the gate, he would say residente, and then his
Ah,
half brother would say visitante, and
that's
that's where they got the names from. Isn't that crazy?
funny, actually. I never heard of that.
Yeah, and the Calle Tres is right like a block from my. Shout out to Marlena Fitzpatrick. She's been on the show too, and I've been in Trujillo Alto. I've been a conquistador. But what I was gonna say is that man, like the pandemic has really like I started the video podcast and you blew up on TikTok. I remember I think the first thing I saw was, all the flags that you have and you going through like all the flags of the municipalities and I think if you're in the diaspora, right, you see maybe Lares, right, or you see Ponce, or
Literally, it's so funny you say that because I remember I've only ever seen Lares or Ponce, and I'm looking at Lares, I'm like, what is that Puerto Rican? Like, I didn't know, and I had to like go on my journey to learn about my history to find out, oh, that's Lares, and then I learned what Lares did historically, and I'm just like putting one and two together. I'm like, bruh, nobody talks about this, so
and
I was gonna
even
talk.
even the blue of the flag. I mean, the blue on your flag is the Lares blue, which is the independentista blue. The blue
Yes,
on the flag of Puerto Rico, the official flag, is the
sir.
colonial flag. So it's funny. I wrote something years ago about how it's funny that you'll see like an independence rally and they're all like, "Oh, mi linda bandera," and they're waving the dark blue Puerto Rican flag, which is the colonial flag. It's not the flag of Puerto Rico. So,
Right.
so where are you from in the states? You were born in the states, right?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in the Bronx, specifically Falls City. I grew up around there, Pelham Parkway, and then I went to school in Westchester County. And then I lived around, I bounced around. When I went to college, I bounced around for a little bit. So I lived in Miami, I lived in Panama, I lived in Africa, I lived in Rhode Island for 5 years.
Do you have like headphones you can put in or something? Because I can kind of your sound is kind of muffled. You have headphones or anything, or not headphones, but maybe microphone or something.
I don't actually. I turn
Uh,
off the fan. Does that sound better?
or maybe move closer to your. I don't know what's recording.
Because it's definitely these headphones are not the best. But let me see. How do I change the settings from here? Do you know?
I'm not. It's funny. I have a fucking podcast, and I'm not a technological man. Like that's the most. That is the most stressful part about having a podcast for me is that I'm not technological. Like I wish I just had some tech nerd here could
Yeah.
set
No.
up and
Yeah.
you know what I
Then we
mean.
can just bada bing, bada boom. Yeah.
Were you really into social media before you started, like on TikTok and stuff like that?
Definitely was. I was always just on Instagram, but I didn't advocate for what I advocate now on social media like that. I would just make a post from the story, just doing the bare minimum, but that was about it.
And when did you move to Puerto Rico?
I moved of August of 2020.
August of 2020. So in the pandemic, did it have something to do with the pandemic? I mean,
Yeah, it was it's funny to it was more of me losing my both jobs in New York
what'd
when
you
it
do?
happened. I was working as a barista in Starbucks and I was working as a personal trainer at Houston.
And you lost your job, and you're like, well, fuck it. If I'm gonna be if I'm gonna be unemployed anywhere, I might as well go back to the motherland, right?
I had a 5 year plan after the pandemic happened because when it happened in New Year's Trail, which was the first case in New
Yeah,
York.
they had that big ass fucking outburst, right?
Yeah. And it was right next to my job, so they shut everything down. And then after that, then it became Equinox shutting everything down, and then the whole world shut down. And
That's
my five
crazy.
year plan that I had, 'cause I had originally had a 5 year plan to move out here, but then I was just like, it's about to be a 5 month plan.
Well, no,
I'm
that's good.
out.
That's the universe, man. That's the universe, right?
Yeah,
And everybody was stuck in their houses, so they're you start making these videos, and
yeah.
everybody's watching them. Like if you had moved in 5 years, you would have started doing. You probably wouldn't even got on TikTok, right? Because maybe
But,
TikTok in 5 years is going to be something of the past, or nobody's going to be watching it, right? But this was
mhm.
like a perfect moment for you to go to Puerto Rico. And the other thing is that, I mean, I think all Puerto Ricans have a 5 year plan of going to Puerto Rico, right? But we all need that push, right?
Yeah, it was definitely just taking that leap of faith for me because I said to myself, I grew up in New York, but I always did vacations since I was little to Puerto Rico nonstop. So I was able to have a connection there. There was a point where I didn't go for like several years. And I felt disconnected from my culture, my heritage, and my roots. And then the one time I went back after years and I went to Carnival, which was Hasta. I'm not sure if you heard of it or you've been to it yet.
No.
It's like basically a huge like 4 day carnival in Old San Juan, where it's just nothing but like la cultura puertorriqueña coming together. Where everybody from all over the island gets together for this, and it was my first time. So I go there, and I was like emotional. I was like, bro, this is so beautiful because it was like our culture at its rawest form. And I don't get me wrong, I love being New Rican. I love being from the Bronx. I love going to Spanish Harlem for the 116 festival. I love doing all that. I love all New York, Puerto Rican stuff. But seeing that in its rawest form, and I was just like, dude, that means so much, and I want to learn so much. And from there, it was more of like the plan started from there. Then fast forward to my me losing both my jobs, I was already doing every other weekend in Puerto Rico, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm out. So I bought a one-way ticket from New York straight to Puerto Rico, and I never looked back.
Hold on, I'm just gonna do something real quick. Just making sure that I'm. Yeah, it's beautiful that you said one way ticket because like a lot of our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, they caught that one way ticket to United States back in the day, right? And not knowing when they're gonna come back. Isn't it crazy that like our generation is people like you, and I know other people, millennials. How old are you?
I'm 25.
25. So yeah, I know.
I'm on the cusp, believe it or not. 1996 is the most controversial generation because you're Gen Z or Gen X and then you're millennial. I'm like right there. I'm like I just go millennial. I'm like I'm millennial. Whatever.
Yeah, those things are like so arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, check. Sorry. Yeah, it's crazy that our generation is that one that's kind of like going back, doing the reverse migration, and we kind of need to, right? I mean, you're going to talk about that, or you can talk about it, like how there's, let's say, foreigners or another invasion of Puerto Rico right now as we speak. People buying up land, people buying up real estate, and it's really that the laws, Acta 22, right? Act
Mm-hmm.
22,
Act
you
22,
can't.
Act 60.
They make it so that foreigners can come in, or non-native Puerto Ricans, let's say, right?
Yeah.
You can come in and you can invest, you can buy real estate, and all tax free, right? but those benefits aren't to the locals, right? So it's either these are the people who can really help Puerto Rico because they made it so that the people who live there can't help can't help themselves. So it's either going to be the white invaders like they did in Hawaii, right? Or it's going to be the diasporicans, as they say, right?
Yeah.
And so you're part of that generation, man. And you are, like I said, you're not only like reclaiming it physically, but reclaiming it like mentally in a way because you're putting it. There's just watching your videos, I realize there's just so much that I don't know about Puerto Rico, and like as a half Honduran, I'm half Honduran. As somebody who was born in Chicago, I've always like, Puerto Ricans are a small community and super proud of their culture, and so like. I always felt left out. I always felt like I felt guilty that I didn't know enough. And so it's people like you that I get to learn vicariously through. I mean, what's some of the stuff that after moving to Puerto Rico, like surprised you about Puerto Rico?
There was a lot more diaspora Ricans that I thought were out here. When I moved out here and I was in the neighborhood, just hanging out with my friends and such, and I'm hearing, you live here for us, so you pick up who's local, who's not by the accent, how people talk, or how people speak English, whatever. And then it's sort of like I was cultivating my own little community of all these other people that are diaspora Ricans that moved down here that were just trying to get away from whether they were from Miami, Connecticut. I've met so many people that are from across the states that just said the same thing as me. They're like, fuck it, I'm out. They said, I'm out. And then they moved out here and they don't know nobody else. And it was from there I started bringing the community together. I met people from Jersey. And I ended up creating a friend group of like diaspora Ricans in San Juan, which I thought was freaking awesome.
I mean, that's hilarious. I mean, are you a diaspora Rican anymore now? Because you're back in Puerto Rico.
That is the same conversation. I was literally, I'm like, are we diaspora? Still, like, I don't know. But I would say I'm always gonna be New Rican. I'm always going to say I'm diaspora until the day I die. I'm going to rep that shit, But now living here and immersing myself fully in a culture that, it was watered down in New York for a long time after the big migration. It's not what it used to be anymore. And seeing it at its rawest form, it was just that much more appreciative in my perspective of seeing what it is, what we do, what we drink, how hangouts are, how the lifestyle is out here. And it's very, very different from how we did it back in New York,
Yeah. But I mean, New Yorkers, and I'm from Chicago, so I'm a little
that's what
jealous.
You call shy Rican.
Shy Rican, but I'm a little jealous because New York culture, I could see why you want to call yourself New York because New York culture is so, I mean, first of all, there's more Puerto Ricans in New York than in any city in the world, right? More than San Juan, right? So, and I think that's true, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've migrated out, so Connecticut got it surprisingly.
Yeah, but if you're from Chicago, we count parts of Indiana as Chicago. You know what I mean?
Right. No. I've learned a lot about Chicago's Puerto Rican diaspora, and I'm very fascinated by it. And I've been studying your city's history.
Yeah, I mean we're super radical. I mean that's where the young lords come from. I mean the New York imported the young lords from Chicago, right?
Right.
And but I was gonna say New Yorican culture has affected Puerto Rican culture. I mean, I was just listening to Loud by Futuro Media on NPR, hosted by Evie Queen.
Yeah.
And she talks about how, reggaeton was invented in Panama. It goes to Puerto Rico, I think, but then it goes to New York. And that's where reggaeton really becomes reggaeton. And then it comes back to Puerto Rico. Now it's the reggaeton that we all know. But if it wasn't for New York, there would be there wouldn't be any reggaeton as we know it. But that's
exactly.
And that's true of like Puerto Rican movies, music, film, like New York. Without New York, Puerto Rican culture is unrecognizable in a way, right?
Exactly. You can't. It's like, and I say this with like all due respect.
I'm gonna say a lot of Islanders are gonna get pissed at fuck.
No, I'm saying because I'm about that. I love talking my stuff, So I will say, if it wasn't for New Yorkers, we would not have the same music that we have today. So that goes for reggaeton, that goes for hip hop, that goes for the Latino diaspora in New York to pave the way. We paved the way for Latinos in New York That way other Latinos have an easier gateway to get through. We had to go through all the fighting, the scratching, the job opportunities, the building a community, building a better community. But we was the one that did it in New York. However, for Hawaii, that's a whole different ballgame because Puerto Ricans were in Hawaii before Hawaii was even a state. Fun fact.
I just saw that video. I just saw you made the video, right, where you're talking about how the sugar workers after the hurricane, you know, the crop got destroyed, went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So tell that story a little bit.
So it was after Hurricane Santiago, late 1800s, that destroyed a lot of the sugarcane plantation, a lot of the sugar fields in Puerto Rico. And a lot of the workers just, were looking for work, looking for opportunity. And there was already a huge shortage in the world of sugar. So the first big five, which are the big five sugar plantations in Hawaii, heard what happened, and they were just like, all right, so y'all looking for some work? So y'all can come out here. We'll get you a work trip out here. So Puerto Ricans migrated from Puerto Rico to Louisiana, took a train from Louisiana to California, took a flight from California over to Hawaii, and that's what caused a great diaspora in Hawaii of Puerto Ricans out there because they worked in the fields. They was working with and living with the Hawaiian natives, eventually creating their own genre of music called gachi gachi, which is a whole other genre that I'm actually saving for another video sometime. So be on the lookout for that.
Sneak peek.
Yeah.
And so they brought the coquis, right?
So they so they brought their music, they brought their food, they brought the coquis too. They brought the coquis out to Hawaii, but Hawaiians were not too happy about that. I don't know. Here's the thing though, a lot of people say Hawaiians don't like that, but I'm not sure. Is it the Hawaiians or like I'm white but I live in Hawaii so I'm Hawaiian? You know what I mean? Like which Hawaiians are we talking about? So
I was just talking about that the other day with what was that movie Generations with George Clooney. You ever see that where he plays a native Hawaiian? George Clooney ain't no native Hawaiian, bro. Come on now.
I'm native Hawaiian, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I literally I love because I have an indigenous Instagram page, and I advocate for liberation of Hawaii, and I advocate for indigenous liberation overall. But when a lot of like Americans be like, USA freed Hawaii and all this stuff, they voted for statehood. I'm like, which Hawaiians voted for statehood? Like, let's backtrack a little bit. Who? The ones that were just born there and not have no native blood, or the ones that just moved there to help vote for statehood, Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of what it's happening again. I mean, I had some activists on I know his first name's Kavena, his last name was very long. Hawaiian name, I can't get it, but he's an independence activist for Hawaii, and he's telling, he was telling hold on, I'm fucking up with the sound levels here. Check. He was telling us, the listeners, the viewers, me, that, to all the Puerto Rican statehooders, right? The people who want Puerto Rican statehood, like, no, you don't want it. You don't want it.
Trust me.
From Hawaiian, you do not want it. You're not going to get it. Because a lot of statehooders say, like, oh, that's the only way for Puerto Ricans to get equality is that we need statehood, right? But Hawaiians are like, you're not going to get – you think statehood's going to give you equality? Like in the COVID pandemic, I think the native Hawaiians had twice as much COVID, contracted twice as much COVID, died at twice the rate as white Hawaiians. Like, so statehood's not going to give you equality, man. What's your – I mean, do you take a stance on that, on the status question at all? I mean,
I always fight for it. I always advocate for the independence of Puerto Rico, even though this is where I love bringing my 2 cents in because I'm somebody born and raised in the States.
Right.
And I still would never want to see Puerto Rico become a state because we are our own people. We are our own ethnic group. We have our own background, our own flag, our own history. I'm not about to be born and raised in Puerto Rico, having to learn about what George Washington did for USA, 1770s. I don't care. I want to learn about Pedro Albizu Campos. I want to learn about Bentances. I want to learn about Lares. I want to learn about my own history. That being said, I learned and watched from the students here in Puerto Rico that some schools are not allowed to even talk about politics in Puerto Rico because it's such a sensitive
I was going to say,
topic.
I can't imagine a kid in Puerto Rico sitting there in U.S. history class and studying the American Revolution, right? Like taxation without representation.
It is a thing. Kids actually are supposed to learn English when they're born here. They're supposed to learn American history before their own history. Fun fact.
I mean, and what do you think? You're a kid, and that's how I became an independentista, right? Because I actually am a history nerd. I graduated degree in history, and I love the American Revolution. And then from there, I learned about the French Revolution, and then you learn about all these revolutions. Yeah. And then, as a Puerto Rican, I'm like, hey, all these arguments apply to Puerto Rico, man. Taxation without representation. This foreign power that's a different culture that is trying to get rid of your culture, that's trying to just kill you, like literally, like with we can talk about the fucking sterilization of the 50s, or you can talk about the destroying of the economy, everything to just I shout out to my professor at UIC, Professor Jose Lopez, who's Oscar Lopez's younger brother. He told me the thing about Puerto Rico is that white people want Puerto Rico, but they don't want the Puerto Ricans, right? They want a Puerto Rico without Puerto Ricans. And so, like, how do you, for me, like I said, like you're saying, as a Puerto Rican born in the States, as an American-born Puerto Rican, like, if you're born in Puerto Rico, you're not American. Oh, there's just stateholders that say they're American. Yeah. But they're not American. Like, you know what I mean?
The conservative mindset, because it all ties to white supremacy. But that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah. we get into those here too. But like, what I was going to say is, like, people always tell me, like, you're in the diaspora, you have no right to talk about the status question or anything like that. But, we're from America. Like, how do you want to become a state? Like, I were telling you what it's going to be like for you if you're part of a state, because I was born in a state. And do you think it gave me equal rights? Do you think I'm equal to a white person in the United States? Come on now, bro.
Word.
I mean,
Word.
Do the people around you know, like, your massive TikTok following? I mean, you're
I believe it or not, my neighbor next door, I tell her about it, but she's 60 something. She doesn't. Right. But what I'm doing for her is that my next video that I'm gonna do is gonna help put a roof over her head, because she's 60 something. She's the head of the household. She maintains the barrio. She lives with her granddaughter. And she still has a tarp since Hurricane Maria, bro. And that is messed up, because she tried to apply for FEMA. They denied her because she was grandfathered into her own house. So I explained to her, this is who I am. This is my platform. I want to help put a roof over your head. And she said, she was just like, I don't know what this TikTok is, but hey, okay.
Don't give it to me. Whatever you have, don't spread it to me, man.
No, like, hey, she said, okay. Literally, she said, as long as you can help, I appreciate you helping me, Dean. And it's funny because her name is Rosa, and that's my grandmother's name in New York. So I'm just like, damn, like, I just feel this guilt that I have a roof over my head. And this woman that's been here through hell and back, who takes care of the barrio, like, she cleans it. There's potholes. She's the first one to put rocks to, like, fill the holes up so that way there's no potholes in the area. This woman goes above and beyond to take care of the neighborhood. And I'm just sad that she still has a blue tarp over her head. Like, when I make this video, it's just very humbling, because when you see the inside of her house, I'm not going to say anything yet, but when you see the inside, you're going to realize this woman is 60-something years old. She needs help. So that's what I'm gonna do with my platform. She doesn't know, because she's not tech savvy. But when I go out to Calle Luisa, when I go to Hangueo, like, or whatever in Placita, everybody's just like, like, yo, you're that guy from social media. You got that from TikTok, right? I'll be like, yo, goddamn, okay, yes, that's me. Like, yo, literally, I thought this guy wanted to start a problem with me, but it's just that I was still a rookie to learning the accent, the dialect here. So, like, yo, eso es cabrón de TikTok, ¿verdad? And I'm just like, yo, cabrón. Oh, wait, yes, no, cabrón, you're like, cabrón. Yeah, see, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's me.
He loves me. He loves me.
He was giving me love. Like, yo, that cabrón, see, it's like cabrón de TikTok. I was just like, yo, it is what it is, baby.
That's hilarious, man. Because, yeah, I mean, I went down there I went to Puerto Rico the first time. Marlena invited me in 2017 after the hurricanes, and that was the first time in Puerto Rico, and everything was destroyed. I said this before, like, it looked like fucking Godzilla came out of the ocean and just fucking dragged ass across Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, bro.
But I'm looking, they're like, man, they're like, what do you think? They're like, sad, and I'm like, it's beautiful. It looks I thought it was beautiful. And they're like, you should have seen it before, But
it was the first time, so you're just like taking it all in at the same time.
Right. You know what I mean? And but yeah, it's good that you said that she takes care of the whole neighborhood, because that's what I found in Puerto Rico too. that like, especially after something happens, people help each other, man. They're not waiting for fucking FEMA. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. After the earthquakes that happened in the beginning of 2020, right before pandemic, the community came together to the south of Puerto Rico. When I say the community, I don't mean the government. I mean the locals. I'm talking even the stars. Like you have Anuel, Trinidad, Daddy Yankee, all coming to the south of Puerto Rico to help the community because they were all just like, we know we're not gonna trust the government, so we just gonna do it ourselves, and that's what they did. It was help. We were helping each other out. When I came from Puerto Rico for Sanse originally, I said, guys, we're gonna go to the south, and everybody was just like, let's fucking go. So they got excited. They had the same energy I had. I was like, guys, we're gonna go help, and they said, let's do it. So we went to Walmart. We told all our friends on social media. They sent us mad money to buy Pampers, diaper, like water, lanterns, air mattresses, and then we just boom, we booked it down to the south of Puerto Rico. We went to Guayanilla specifically, and then we saw an abandoned school, and then there was people on the front. We were like, yo, can we find like a place where people are staying at? Like, no, people are staying here. So we went to the school. The front of the school, nobody. The back of the school, tents, tarps, beanbags. I'm like, yo, I was not ready for that.
And the community set that up, right? There's no government.
Yeah, it was the community that took care of all that, you know? So I literally show up and I have all this stuff. I'm like, oh, what? This is a lot. So we started giving out to the community. Boom, boom, boom. We help everybody. I literally met 10, 11-year-olds, boys, that was just like, yo, like, how's it been? Because, you know, there's also physical support, but you also got to give mental support for these kids that have been through it, you know?
Imagine, bro.
Yeah, so I literally talked to these kids and I'm just like, you okay, man? Like, how's it been? He was just like, you know, I don't have a house right now, but I'm just getting through, you know? I'm like, what is one thing you miss? He said, I miss school. I miss my friends. I was, bro, imagine a 10, 11-year-old telling me that. And I was just like, bro, like, I'm a Cancer, so I'm going to cry, bro, you know?
Yeah.
And then I had this one little girl, oh my God, she was so cute that she was like, you know, playing, she was living life. She didn't know what was happening. She didn't care what was happening and stuff. And as I'm getting ready to leave, I'm like getting emotional and stuff. I'm like crying and she catches me crying. This little girl comes and gives me a big old hug.
Oh.
And then she said to me in English, she said, don't cry. Thank you for your help. And then she wept. I was just like, motherfucker, I'm going to cry even more. Like,
that's even worse. Yeah, don't say that. Just don't say nothing, man.
Yo! So that just goes to show, even after everything that we was giving to the community in the school that we went to, they were still giving us stuff, bro.
Yeah.
They gave us coffee. They got us soup. They said, one of the moms said, yo, like, yo, I know you guys have been really busy, so I didn't want to say anything, but I got you guys some pizza. We ordered pizza for you guys and stuff, so y'all can eat, y'all can stay energized and help us out and stuff. I was just like, damn, like, we don't stop giving, bro. That's what I find was the most beautiful part about being Puerto Rican, man. I feel like that energy would have never been reciprocated, like in New York, ever.
Or in Chicago, or yeah, just in American culture, right? It's just, I mean,
it's always individualism in the States. Meanwhile, when it comes to people in the community that take care of the community in Puerto Rico, we're big on that. We take care of each other. We help each other. We're self-sufficient in that sense. Where I'm ready to just give. I don't want anything in return, but just, you know, thank you. That's it. I was just like, oh, thank you, baby. That's it. You don't have to tell me that either. But then, bro, I didn't expect coffee. I didn't expect the pizza. I definitely didn't expect the soup, you know? It was crazy. It was awesome.
No, I mean, yeah, when I went there to Puerto Rico, shout out to Marlena and her mom who took me in, and they're, you know, they have no electricity, bro, right? They have no electricity. And here they are. Her mom's so excited to host me and giving me food and here, take the good bedroom and all that stuff. I'm like, bro, like, just let me sleep in the fucking corner, right? I'll be fine, you know? But yeah, the other thing that you said was interesting is that, yeah, there's so many diasporicans down there. Like, I went down there to kind of as a journalist too, and I wanted to get like the reaction. It was November 2017, so I wanted to get like what's going on and talk to the locals, right? I went down there like a fucking gringo myself, right? Yeah. And I'm like, here, sir, here I have a native Puerto Rican here, sir. Can you tell us, please? And the dude was from fucking Philadelphia, bro. He was from Philadelphia, and he's like, what are you talking about, man? You know, like, and I'm like, oh, you're from the States. He's like, yeah, he went down there 3 years ago. And I'm like, all right, well, everything's destroyed. I didn't say it like that, but I'm like, everything's destroyed. Are you going back? Right? Everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck no, man. I'm not going back. This is my home. This is my home.
That's
And
beautiful.
isn't that beautiful? Like the diaspora is back in Puerto Rico, feeling like the diaspora, right? If Puerto Rico's gonna get saved, it's got to be Puerto Ricans there. It's got to be Puerto Ricans here. It's got to be Puerto Ricans everywhere who care about Puerto Rico, being informed thanks to people like you, and helping out, man. Like, what do you think? I always ask people who move to Puerto Rico or who live in Puerto Rico, what can somebody like me, a diaspora Rican, do to help homeland? You know what I mean?
I would say, as difficult as it is for a lot of people, because a lot of diaspora Ricans, that don't know Spanish but still want to be a part of it. I would say the biggest part was just to use their social media to your advantage. Think of social media like your television. Follow some local pages, local news, like influencers in the community that are spreading that information out there, your word of mouth. I would say it's better to stay on top and know what's happening in and out. Granted, it's so much that happens here every single day, bro. It's just like, if it's not one thing, it's another. And if it's another, it's a cousin of another. Or if it's cousin sister, or it's brother, or it's the statehood party, or it's the status quo party, or it's the independence party. There's always something going on. But if you really care and if you really want to devote yourself to knowing, to want to know what's going on in Puerto Rico, then just stay informed, stay updated. Check out WAPA on Instagram. Download the WAPA app. There's a WAPA Instagram app that provides English and Spanish news for everything that goes on in Puerto Rico. I literally get a notification every 5 minutes about anything that goes on. And it was because of WAPA that I found out about the recent news with the statehood mayor of Cataño, that he had money laundering, So it doesn't stop.
My mom just said, this is the craziest time to be alive because there's so much going on, man.
Yeah.
And imagine, we're talking about the mental health of kids earlier. Imagine, they say, everybody's crying, and they should. I have a 17-year-old, and it's rough, man. She's going through high school during a pandemic. That's rough. But hey, at the end of the day, she lives in America, man, the richest country in the world. Imagine being in Puerto Rico with after an earthquake and after hurricanes, and it's still not fixed. I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine what I would be thinking if I was 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, I don't know what kids think about their own situation. And there's not a lot from kids in Puerto Rico that I've seen. Have you seen anything from kids in Puerto Rico talking about what it's like to be Puerto Rican in Puerto Rico?
Honestly, when I speak to kids out here, it's more of what do you want to do in your future? What do you have planned for yourself? And they say, I want to move to Jersey. I want to move to Ohio. I want to move to New York. I'm like, you don't want to stay? They're just no, everybody tells me there's no opportunity here, so I'll just be ready to move like everybody else afuera. I'm just like,
yeah.
Bro, that hit hard, because now it's being ingrained into our kids that they can't have a life here, and they're born and raised there,
Yeah.
That hurts. I was just like, wow. But when I speak to college kids and students that go to La Dupi, University of Puerto Rico, they show such a patriarchy, which I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere. Yes, okay, patriarchy. Talk to me about your love for being Puerto Rican. And they just said, I don't ever want to leave. I don't ever want to leave. And it's a lot of people that just say, I'll never leave. Or those who do say, I just leave, I want to see my cousin, but I'm coming right back. Because I lived out there for a little bit, and they said either they never left or they came back. And they were just like, yeah, I'm good. You know, and it was more of just like the land that we stand on is who we are, where our story starts, and what makes us who we are today, and that pride that they carry with the accent of their language and with how they go about their lifestyle in their, you know, in their communities, in their own each individual communities. You know,
Yeah,
I
it
feel like
sucks,
that
man.
that pride is what drives them to stay.
It sucks. Like there's some people like for every person in Puerto Rico that I talk to, and you're like, yeah, come down here, buy property. They're buying a property. You better buy Papi, you better buy something quick. You better buy something quick.
Right.
There's another Puerto Rican who's like, nah, don't come down here. Don't buy nothing here. There's no job. It's crazy that even Puerto Ricans can't agree with what to do with Puerto Rico, right? And that's fucking as an outsider, that's clear by the parties, right? One party's statehood. One party's like, nah, let's just keep everything the way it is. It's fine. We'll just tweak it a little bit. And another party's like, nah, we need to be fucking independent like yesterday, bro.
Yeah.
Did you see that map that went kind of viral on social media?
Yeah. Oh, day. Are you talking about the trains?
Yeah. What'd you think of that?
Oh my God, bro! There, yeah. I'm gonna have to just tell you what my next videos for the next week are, bro. So I fell in love with it. I knew the guy who made it because he's the one that hooked it up with all the flags. He creates the flags.
He was on the show 4 episodes ago. Javier,
yeah,
shout out to Javier, bro.
Yeah, sir, Javier. Bro, that's the GOAT, man. So I spoke to him. I told him, yo, send me the pictures. Send me your pictures that you made. Because I did a project for myself today. Where I went to Vega Baja. And I went to the old train museum.
That's where my family's from.
Hey, yo, I love Vega Baja. The beaches out there, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Not ghetto, you know? But I went to the museums out there, bro. I saw so much history, bro. And I'm just like, bro. So I asked the guy, the tour guide, I was like, yo, what happened? He gave me the history. He told me everything. Bro, I was able to get some good footage. And I want trains for Puerto Rico because now that that image that Javier made of, you know, trains around the island, I'm like, bro, that would be golden, man. That could save a lot of money, create a lot more money to come into the neighborhood because now you have more than one way to get around the whole island. You don't have to spend money on gas, tolls, none of that. You have an opportunity to just hop on a train, go from east to west, north to south, bro. It is all every Puerto Rican wants, bro. And I want that. I support that. And there's logical, economical ways to help, too, because you can get wind-powered trains that are, you know, powered by the windmills that will power the trains so you don't have to worry about gas or electricity or ruining the environment, nothing like that. Or you can get solar panel trains that'll help rebuild the community and get everybody to go from point A to point Z with no problem. I am 110% for it. I am so for it. I've not met one person that said no.
There was one, I posted it on Twitter, and a couple people were like, "This is unrealistic. You would need too much money. There's not enough people for a train." And I'm like, dude, you got to dream like of a better Puerto Rico, right? You got to know how to dream. Like, but maybe you're biased as somebody from the Bronx. Like that's what you want to train. You know what I mean?
All right, you got me. You got me. I have a car, but this is my first. I had to get my own car, okay, while I was here. Even then, I'm just speaking from an honest perspective that a train would help. Yes, you got me there.
I mean, it's good that you brought up like wind power and solar, and now they have these things that you can put out in the ocean, and like the movement of the waves creates energy. Like Puerto Rico could do all of that fucking shit, man. All of that stuff. Like we can be the leaders in green energy. We could be like a new Singapore. We can be the richest country in Latin. I mean, we could be the richest country in Latin America. I think we have the highest per capita GDP.
We have the highest GDP. But it's debatable because of the dollar we use, but we're not the only one that uses the dollar because Panama and Costa Rica and other countries use the dollar too. So we're not. I think we are, but we're not. I don't know. And
we're getting robbed. I mean, it's a colony. Yeah. So imagine like if we're rich now, imagine like being free. Like no colony, except that they try to fuck you, right? Like Haiti was rich, and then when they got free. France is like, you got to pay us for your freedom. And so that's why Haiti's poor to this day. It took him like 100 years to pay off that debt. And so if Puerto Rico becomes free and America tries to fuck Puerto Rico, then yeah, Puerto Rico's not gonna be rich. Like Cuba could be rich, but America's trying to fuck Cuba. But like if America, helps Puerto Rico become free or just gives it its freedom and gets the fuck out of the way, Puerto Rico would be so, it's, again, I say this to everybody, it's called rich port. Why do people think that this place is going to be poor, that it's poor, right? It's just
because all they know is that there's only one country in their mind, that they think America is the only country in the world. They live in a fantasy where if it's not America, it's poor. That stems from their education. That stems from, their conditioning growing up, because if it's not America, it's wrong. So that's how they see it, and they're ignorant because they don't even have a passport, so they can't say anything. That's all they think. So they think that Puerto Rico will be the poorest thing ever. Meanwhile, we are struggling now because of USA.
Yeah.
USA is holding us back by the shackles that we carry to help pay off a debt that we didn't even start in the first place.
Yeah, that's Puerto Rico. If Puerto Rico's a colony and it has debt, then that's not its debt. That's the U.S. government's debt in Puerto Rico, right? Like, people always say, like, or that Puerto Rico has a terrible government. It can't be free because they have terrible government. Imagine if they were free.
No, they're not. But now with the government, they ain't wrong.
But that's colonial government. That's who the U.S. allows in there, right?
It's the U.S. backed colonial government,
right? Because Honduras, I'm Honduran too, right? Honduras has a terrible government, but that's the U.S.'s government, right? And if the Honduran people actually elect somebody like they just did, Xiomara Castro, first woman.
I saw Xiomara, right?
Yeah, she's the wife of the guy who got taken out by a coup in 2009. So she better watch her back, because America's going to be coming after her. Because if she starts talking about land reform and shit like that and people's rights, they're going to take her out too. And they're already talking about that. Like, she's got to worry, man. And
look at Barbados. They just cut off recently, like the other day with Britain. They said, bro, I love you, but just get out my face. Hey, we're done.
They made Rihanna the national hero. Who would be?
Bro, when I saw Rihanna, I was like, I knew they were gonna do something with Rihanna, bro.
Who would Puerto Rico make national hero?
I mean, it all depends on who you asking, bro. It means you asking me, I'm gonna say, I would say Bad Bunny, bro. But you ask somebody like an OG, they'd probably say Daddy Yankee. Or if you ask somebody before that, they would say somebody completely different. Like, I don't know, like some right-wing Christian, white supremacist, Puerto Rican, whoever. I don't know. Actually, I changed it. I love Bad Bunny, but I would say Residente, because he's been the one that's been using his music for the longest time to advocate for independence, and then did it in a PC and a radical manner. So I would say I changed that. Residente. But depends on who you ask.
You're a fan of Bad Bunny. I don't get it. My wife's a great fan of Bad Bunny, and she's always don't
like OD die hard. I'm not OD, but I like him.
Well, I'm curious. Tell me what's great about it. I love the beat. I mean, you can't deny the beat. Come on now. Yeah. But I'm not tone deaf. But I mean, what's so great about Bad Bunny?
It's more like he does his music, but he's also been politically involved as well, which a lot of artists will always strain away from, or even actors will strain away from talking about that, because they're going to be afraid of that backlash that comes with it. Let's say a brother like Will Smith, I don't know if he ever did, but if he said Black Lives Matter, a lot of people are going to give him shit for that. Or the basketball player that denied he admitted he's anti-vax. A lot of people give him shit for that, But Bad Bunny is one that's like, no, I'm gonna say what I gotta say, like Residente, but I'm gonna be more PC about it. I'm gonna be like, this is what I believe, XYZ. You do with that information as you please. But Bad Bunny has always stood up for trans rights, has always stood up for Puerto Rico rights, has always represented Puerto Rico the way it should be represented. And he also has that young, captivating vibe for the younger generation, the younger audience, the younger hype. So he would be translated as the Drake of Puerto Rico. He's everybody named
sure. That's great. He is the Drake of Puerto Rico, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the Drake of Puerto Rico, and he's done so much for Puerto Rico too. And people admire that he's Puerto Rican. They love his accent. They love how he looks.
Not
He's a
even the
sex
Drake of
symbol
Puerto
to
Rico. That's
them.
almost belittling. He's the Drake of Latin music.
No,
Right?
period. That
Right.
even better. Yeah, that's like a perfect example because he not only does reggaeton, he does trap, and then he did some bolero, which I thought was hilarious. He's doing all this shit too, you know, like he's doing his own thing because like his album, Yo hago lo que me da la gana. He does whatever he wants, and that's how he put his motto. And then we stood up for Black Lives Matter. He painted that on the streets of San Juan. I'm just like, this is the GOAT. He's goated for that, you know.
Yeah. How many videos have you done? How many TikTok videos have you done?
986.
980. So you're coming up to 1,000, bro. What are you gonna do for your thousands? Is something special?
I don't know. I don't know.
When did you start? When was your first?
My first video was because before it was TikTok, it was Musically, and I had my Musically account. It was the same account, so it built. It was a generational account that built with time.
Wait. It was music. What?
It was called Musically, like Musically Enhanced. It was music.ly, Musically. That's what it was called before it was TikTok.
And then it became TikTok?
And then it became TikTok. It was bought by an Asian company, but I think it was a Japanese or a Chinese company, one of the two. And it was still the same thing, but they just switched the name. But it was nothing different.
And what do you think, speaking of Chinese company, what do you think about, remember there was that whole saying of like, China is blocking certain TikTok videos. Have you experienced any of that?
So for that, I was a representative of Musically for that time being, so I had a bit more scoop of what it was gonna do with when it became TikTok. So when it became TikTok, nothing really changed except the owners, and it gained more fame or more money because when it was brought to China, it was just gaining a lot more fame, a lot more views. But when Trump looked at it, because he was pretty anti-China, it was more just because anything that China does is a threat to the rest of the world. But China, when we got notifications that, you know, it was still going to be TikTok, like TikTok's not going anywhere, and it had like its own base in the United States, they meant no harm, no foul by doing anything with their platform. If anything, they was trying to be the next Vine or like the next Instagram. You know, they were just doing what they wanted to do, but since it was owned by a company in China, the USA took it, like, you know, was crying about it, you know.
And then,
but they fought very hard. They did an open market with the stock market. That way they were open to USA, so they could still stay in USA. But after Trump was removed, they didn't have to do none of that anymore because they found a way that, you know, Trump's gone and Biden is in. Biden's cool with TikTok, so they were just like, okay, we're gonna stay.
Biden's cool with TikTok. You should have put that on his fucking bumper sticker.
Yeah. Biden's cool with us, so we cool.
So you were on social media. You knew about it, like as a TikTok star, right? What makes TikTok so popular? You mentioned Vine. There's been other things, but TikTok is blown up. Everybody, I mean, it's taken over. Like, people don't even watch streaming anymore. They don't read the news. Everything. My wife says, "Hey, you got to get on TikTok, because if you're not on TikTok, I'm not gonna see you." You know what I mean?
Right. No, the hype about it is that it has a algorithm that'll properly promote you the way other platforms can't. Now, TikTok was a trendsetter for now Instagram changing their whole platform to putting videos, to making it look more like Reels.
Reels, yeah.
Exactly. Snapchat,
my wife hates Reels. She hates Reels. I'm like, you're on TikTok. She's like, it's not the same thing. It's not. She hates seeing TikTok videos not on TikTok. She's like, if you want to see TikTok videos, go to fucking TikTok. That's where it's at. She hates seeing TikTok video, because I'll talk to her about something on TikTok, and she's like, you saw that on Instagram. That doesn't count. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like Twitter. It's like Twitter has that algorithm where if I like something, all my people are gonna like it. If they like it, then it just keeps going from there. TikTok has a way of like saying what hashtags you use. What they'll literally watch. They have people that watch your video, and they'll put it to the platform of the same people that have your ideology. And they'll be like, okay, that goes there, you go there, or yours is too problematic, or yours is not good enough, we won't promote it, type stuff, you know?
That's good,
Let your followers do the job for you.
Yeah, Facebook's running into that kind of shit where, like, you know, they're just letting anything fly, and now they're getting in trouble because they've been sending, like, misinformation to Latino voters and shit like that. and they don't have that sounds good. Like they need people actually watching, going through the posts and being like, okay, you know what I mean? Especially
before
major
they used
players.
To be, from this is like a super scoop. Before they used to just watch. They had a machine do it for them. They had a machine that would watch the videos for you and just be like, okay, well, it's good enough. And then that's how they did before. Now they still have that same machine, but now they have people that are monitoring your videos and making sure that your video is reaching the accounts that you want your video to reach. That's the unique thing about TikTok.
And I read too that you have to on your page, you have to make sure that all of your content is related to each other, right? And that pushes your stuff out more?
In a way. It's like if I'm talking about, let's do a silly example. Let's say I'm only talking about chicken, the benefits of eating chicken.
I love chicken.
Church's
That
chicken.
day, you could blow up. That would be a bigger page than your page now if you talked about chicken, man.
Exactly. But then I start talking about steak. Then all those people that are gonna see this video about steak, they're gonna be like, I don't know. So it's like, or that doesn't correlate with what I want to do. I want to see chicken. I came to you to watch chicken. I don't want to talk about steak. You know. So that's how it goes with how you build your platform, which is why I try to be transparent, versatile, and comedic all at once. Because it's a matter of putting myself out there and letting them know that I can be funny, I can joke around, but when I want to talk about historical, political stuff, this is what I do as well. You know, I'm not just one funny guy. I don't want to be known as one funny guy. I want to be a guy that also took time to help rebuild his community, to help inform the community about what goes on in Puerto Rico. That's more of what I strive for. Because, you know, I could do all the above. I would follow the steps of Juan James, or I can be like the news reporter, Bianca Graulo, in a mix
Killing
of
it too, right?
Yeah. Like, I want to do that together, you know? I want to let them know that I can do all that. You know, I'm not just one thing. I can be serious, but I can also be funny, which is what I do with my platforms. I make funny videos, and I'll make informative videos, and I'll do activist videos all at once, you know?
That's beautiful, because as somebody who's like trying to do more funny content, it's really hard, like, to be funny, to like, you have to kind of practice it, right? I mean, how do you hit that tone?
I grew up watching a lot of black comedy.
Yeah,
and I always related
Def Comedy
more,
Jam.
You know?
Shout out to Russell Simmons.
Hell yeah! Shout out to Def Comedy Jam, bro. They had me going since I was young. I watched all of Shaquille O'Neal's comedy shows growing up. You know, the All-Star Comedy Jam. I love comedy. You know. So I just thought it was funny. I always thought, like, yo, I wish I could do something like that, you know? So it was more because of my black brothers and sisters that I was just like, bro, I can still be who I am, but I can still be goofy about it. You know, like Bernie Mac, you know, like Harvey, you know, Steve Harvey from like Family Feud. Like Steve Harvey, he could be serious. He'll talk about some serious stuff, but then he'll go on Family Feud and he'll be a clown, you know, because he can do that, you know?
Or what's his name? Speaking of original Kings of Comedy, D.L. Hughley, who's now like an activist, but I know him from Kings of Comedy. He's a funny motherfucker, right? But yeah, he could be funny, and he could teach you about, you know, fucking Black history at the same time. Yeah. And you kind of have to do that, right?
Yeah, like Dave Chappelle. Like in that sense,
Dave Chappelle, exactly.
He's enlightening people through his platform, through his persona. He's showing that he can be very funny, but also be very serious at the same time. Like, those are people I've always looked up to as a kid, you know? So it was because of them. They gave me that inspiration that if I would ever do something like inform the world, this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it through TikTok. I'm going to show them that I can be funny, but I'll show them that we got things going on. This is what the community needs to know type stuff, you know?
Yeah, and you got to, I think comedy is so funny because, like, comedy's so funny.
Funny.
Comedy's so funny. Comedy is so important because it helps something stick. Like, if somebody's telling you something serious, you might not remember it. But if they're couching it in a joke, you remember. Like, that's why we remember all of Dave Chappelle's political commentary, because he's joking, but you know he's real. He's saying something real, right? Like, you know, the fucking the baby on the corner selling weed at 2:00 in the morning, right? You know, gun store, liquor store, gun store, liquor store. Like, we all know what he's talking about, but it's a joke, but it's real, right?
Yeah.
So you're in Puerto Rico now. Now that you're in Puerto Rico, you're this TikTok star. What's the 5-year plan now?
Oh, that's a good one. Since I've been I got applied for this Latinx creators program
Nice.
with TikTok, and they accepted me, and it's been these very focused, educated classes on how to properly build my platform and how to properly monetize it. And I feel that I really want to take it more seriously in terms of making my own money and properly monetizing myself and doing right collabs with right people, and getting my name out locally. Because I really, I'm honestly, I do speak for the diaspora, and my I know the ones that are always going to support me from the States are always going to be there for me. I made some great connections along the way too, but I really want to get my name in the local industry here. And I've done, I made collabs. I met up with some amazing people, and I want to take that to my page where I'm making money off my page too, because I want to live by being my own boss. I want to live by making my own money, and I don't want to work for somebody else, because everybody said no hay trabajo. No, you just got to make your own trabajo, you gotta do your own thing. You make your own business, make your own money, and there's so many ways around it. And that's my 5-year plan, to be where I know in the next 5 years I'm good doing what I have to do, making my own money, where I don't have to worry about it.
There's this report that just came out, or it's gonna come out. I don't think I'm supposed to talk about it, but I'm not gonna name the who came out with the report. But Latinos are the biggest entrepreneurs in America. Like they make more small businesses than anybody, and the report's gonna say that if people came correct with the pay, meaning if Puerto Ricans, but all Latinos were paid what they earn, what they're owed, they'd be making even more businesses. Like supposedly, like there would be 700,000 more small businesses if Latinos were paid like white people. There'd be 700,000 more white people, small businesses, and they would create 5 million new jobs. You know what I mean? And like, and Latinos would have $500 billion more in wealth. Like we're getting robbed, and we hustle like no other, but we're getting robbed. But hopefully, like that changes. I think it's gonna change pretty soon.
I believe it is. I believe it is, because I recently did an advertisement. I collabed with Axe, and I already did my video. I made the ad. And I know a lot of people that did the same thing too, but I was speaking to my boss at the time. I was like, yo, Axe just asked me if they want to collab. They're asking me how much should I charge. And it was my first time. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I say 500? And he was like, fuck that, bro. He's half Italian, half Puerto Rican. And he grew up from Jersey.
I told the face, said, fuck that, dude.
Fuck that. Yeah, he said, Dean, shoot for higher. I'm like, 1,000? I was like, 6,000? He said, because they're going to meet you halfway. If you can get 3,000, you're set. I was just like, no way. He's like, dude, trust me. So I said, okay. This is my rates. I go by this, that, the other. This is what I charge. They said, that's a little bit high. Are you willing to do 3,000? I said, ooh.
You're like, I guess, for you.
I'll hook it up. I'll hook it up, because it was more like I didn't believe in myself enough. I was thinking with my own wallet. Meanwhile, this guy who, my boss at the time, he's an entrepreneur, and he realized that there's no such thing as not enough money to go around. He said, bullshit. There's always enough money to go around. You just have to believe in yourself. When he said that, it stuck with me. I made a video with Axe, and I have a pretty penny. So
yeah, that's two things. I feel like Latinos are real humble. Like we're just humble, right? We're like, hey, give me something. Give me a piece of bread. I'll do this video for a piece of bread, right?
Literally.
And then two, like, we're afraid of we're so desperate. Like there's not a lot of spaces for us, right? That if we're offered a space, we don't want to lose it by asking for too much. So we're we're fucking ourselves that way. But
exactly. But that's the greatest way to look at it, because I'm thinking that same exact way. I'm just like, okay, it's something, it's something better than nothing. I'll take a little bit of nothing with something, But and then I spoke to the guy, because him and I are a lot alike in a lot of ways, and he's older than me and wiser than me, and he's good with money and stuff. He says you just have to believe that you can make that money, and I was just like, okay. And he said, listen, I know, because I'm thinking with my own money too. Sometimes I'm thinking like, oh, that's not enough. This is too much. I'm asking for too much. I'm not going to get accepted and stuff. But just take that leap of faith. The same way he told me, the same way you took that leap of faith to come to Puerto Rico, you can take that leap of faith with your platform too, and you will see all the success come your way. And I was just like, damn. And from there, I won't settle for less. I was just like, wow, like I'll be humble about it, like, but I'll know my worth, because once you know your worth, you won't settle for less.
I mean, I'm drawing parallels in my head with Puerto Rico, man. Like, if we could just make that leap of faith and be like, you know what, let's just be independent. We're not gonna be broke. There's money to go around. There's plenty of money in the world. We're not gonna go broke. But like, yeah, that's beautiful, man. You're taking that leap of faith, believing in yourself. And I thank you for going back, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, because I think I'm just here. I'm doing my thing, but when I met up with local influencers here that are born and raised here, they tell me what you just said to me too. They said, "Yo, you left," and I'm just like, "Yeah." You live here? They said, "Yeah." They said, "Yo, everybody says thank you, man." I'm just like, they're like, come on, like I'll just stop crying, like don't do this, and they make me feel so welcome. Like, yo, thank you for coming back, because we never meet anybody that comes back. We always meet everybody that leaves.
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn, bro, like. That hurt.
You didn't have to. You didn't have to, and you lost your jobs, but you didn't have to go to Puerto Rico. You could have gone to Ohio or Illinois or California. You went to fucking Puerto Rico, man, and then that's.
I went to Miami.
you sound like you're fucking kicking yourself like halfway, but I mean Puerto Rico and Miami, it's not even close, man. Puerto Rico, bro. You know, La Isla del Encanto, man. I mean, you're in the motherland, and thank you for sharing, all the knowledge, and continue sharing. I mean, you're about to hit 1,000. This is gonna be the funny part. Where can people find you? I ask everybody that. Where can people find you?
Well, no. I always act like nobody knows me. I'm a nobody. I'm just a regular guy. But no, I appreciate it. You can find
people
me
on your TikTok. People watching your TikTok videos right now.
You got me. You figured me out. No, you can find me at Dean Huertas on TikTok. You can find my Instagram at Huertas Dean PR. I'm always available to anybody for questions, comments, concerns, whether to move back to the island or just some more information that we'd like to know about Puerto Rico. I'm not a tour guide, so don't ask me about like what to do in Puerto Rico, because I will send you straight to Old San Juan. Okay, so.
Yeah. I'm gonna be down there in February. Me and my wife are celebrating 10 years.
Well, I will have 2 of these in my hand, ready to salute you with that. Okay.
For sure, man. For sure. And just one last question. I mean, you hear about New York Rockin' Eve. You moved from New York, and now Dick Clark's New York Rockin' Eve is gonna be in San Juan for the first time. Ryan Seacrest is gonna do a Spanish countdown. What do you think of that, man?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to go. I'm gonna go.
Of course. I mean,
I ain't gonna hold you. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try to go. They have tickets for it, so you gotta be aware for when they sell tickets. I hope it's not too expensive. But where they're gonna do the countdown, I would love to see that. For sure. I personally would love to see it. Everybody has their beliefs. Everybody's like, no, this, that, the other. Fine. I'm going. Yeah. I'm gonna go, because there's one thing that I've learned from before TikTok, but also with TikTok, is that I have to be true to myself, and I'm not gonna let anybody tell me otherwise. Okay?
Yeah.
That being said, I'm looking forward to that shit, bro. I'ma go, bro.
It's something to see, something to experience. I mean, you can say whatever you want about it, but it's gonna be crazy.
Like, I want to be there. We get New Year's before New York. We get an hour ahead, and we're gonna do it here.
Everybody's gonna. That's actually a proud moment in a way for Puerto Rico, because everybody's gonna be watching Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve at 11 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, and everybody's gonna see that countdown. Everybody's gonna see that countdown.
Yeah, and it's like we get it first. Like, fuck y'all, I'm gonna be here. Exactly. I'm here. I'm about to party my ass up, bro. Like, it's lit. Like, nobody can tell me otherwise.
You're gonna be in 2020. Puerto Rico's gonna be in 2022, while America's still stuck in 2021. That's beautiful.
We built different. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks, dude. Hey, man, have fun. I'll hit you up when I'm in Puerto Rico, and I'm looking
forward.
I'll be watching you on TikTok.
When did you say he was coming? Do you have an idea of when?
The 8th to the 14th February.
Okay, February. Got you. Okay. I'm waiting for you on the other side.
Peace, bro. Have a good weekend, man.
Thank you.
Stay up,
man. You too.